Picture this. It's the mid-1970s, and Steve Jobs is still figuring out life working at Atari, dabbling in Zen, and occasionally dropping acid. But deep down, he's got this itch, this nagging feeling that he's meant for something bigger. Enter Steve Wozniak, the engineering wizard who could build a computer out of spare parts and a dream. Together, they're like the odd couple of tech Jobs. The smooth-talking visionary and was the quiet genius who just wants to tinker. The Apple I wasn't born in a fancy lab or a corporate office. No, it started in a garage because, of course it did. Was building computers for fun, showing them off at the Homebrew Computer Club, where hobbyists geeked out over circuit boards and binary code. Jobs saw something in Woz's creation, not just a toy for nerds, but a tool for the masses. He convinced was to turn it into a business, because if there's one thing Jobs could do, it was sell ice to a snowman. Now, here's the kicker. The Apple I wasn't even a finished product. It was basically a naked circuit board. No case, no keyboard, no power supply. You had to solder it together yourself, which, let's be honest, is like selling a car without an engine and saying, just figure it out. But Jobs didn't care. He saw the potential, the future, the revolution. He hustled, charmed, and maybe even fibbed a little to get orders. When a local electronics store agreed to buy 50 units, Jobs and Woz scrambled to deliver, selling their most prized possessions, Jobs's van, Woz's calculator, to fund the operation. The Apple I wasn't perfect, but it was the spark. It proved that computers didn't have to be giant, intimidating machines locked away in corporate basements. They could be personal, accessible, even fun. And for Jobs, it was the first step toward changing the world, or, at least, convincing the world it needed changing. So here they were, two Steves in a garage, with a dream, a circuit board, and a whole lot of audacity. Little did they know, the gears of fate were already turning. Picture this. It's the mid-1970s, and the tech world is still figuring out what a personal computer, even asterisk, is asterisk. Enter Steve Jobs, the guy who somehow convinced a bunch of engineers that a wooden box with circuits inside could change the world. Spoiler alert, he was right. The Apple II wasn't just a computer, it was a revolution wrapped in beige plastic. Jobs obsessed over every detail, from the sleek case to the color of the keyboard. He even insisted on no visible screws because, well, aesthetics matter when you're inventing the future. Meanwhile, Woz, the engineering wizard, was busy making sure the thing actually asterisk worked asterisk. Then came the big moment, the 1977 West Coast Computer Fair. Jobs, ever the showman, rented a massive booth, draped it in black velvet, and let the Apple II shine like a tech messiah. People lost their minds. It had color graphics. It had sound. It didn't look like something you'd build in a garage, even though, technically, it was. But here's the kicker. Jobs didn't just sell computers. He sold asterisk dreams asterisk. He convinced people they weren't buying a machine. they were buying a ticket to the future. And the world? Well, the world was ready to buy. The Apple II wasn't just successful. It was obscenely successful. By 1978, Apple was making millions. Jobs went from hippie dropout to tech tycoon overnight. And Lisa, he who is abandoned. Let's dive into one of the most complicated and messy chapters of Jobs' life, his relationship with Kristen Brennan and their daughter, Lisa. You'd think the man who revolutionized technology could handle a paternity test, but oh boy, was this a drama-filled ride. So picture this, it's the late 70s, and Steve Jobs is already the golden boy of Silicon Valley, co-founding Apple and making waves. Meanwhile, his ex-girlfriend, Kristen Brennan, is pregnant. Now, when Kristen tells Steve he's the father, his response? Denial, denial, denial. He even goes as far as claiming, "I'm sterile, it's impossible." Spoiler alert, it was very possible. But here's where it gets wild. When Lisa is born, Jobs refuses to acknowledge her, even though everyone around him, including his close friends, can see the resemblance. He's so stubborn about it that Kristen has to go on welfare just to support their child. Not exactly the heroic founder story we're used to, huh? Then comes the paternity test. The results? 94.4% chance Jobs is the father. His response? 28% of the male population could be the father. Classic Steve, always spinning the numbers to fit his narrative. Eventually, a court orders him to pay child support, but even then, he drags his feet. Now, here's the twist. Despite all the denial, Jobs eventually warms up to Lisa, sort of. He names a computer after her, the Apple Lisa, which, by the way, flopped spectacularly. He even lets her visit him sometimes. But let's be real, this is a guy who could design a perfect computer, but couldn't quite figure out how to be a decent dad. And just when you think things might settle down, picture this. It's 1979, and Steve Jobs is like a kid in a candy store. Except the candy is cutting-edge tech, and the store is Xerox PARC. This place was like the Willy Wonka factory of computer science, filled with mind-blowing innovations that nobody outside even knew existed. Jobs, being Jobs, waltzes in with his signature blend of charm and relentless persistence, convincing Xerox to let Apple peek behind the curtain. And what does he see? Magic. Not the wand-waving kind, but something even cooler, a graphical user interface, complete with windows, icons, and a mouse. Now, let's be real. Xerox had no idea what they were sitting on. They were like someone who invents fire, but just uses it to keep their toes warm. Jobs, on the other hand, saw the future. He took one look at the Xerox Alto and thought, this changes everything. And it did. The idea of dragging files with a mouse instead of typing cryptic commands. Revolutionary. But here's the twist. Jobs didn't just copy Xerox. He took their rough diamond and polished it into something even shinier. Enter the Lisa Project, Apple's ambitious attempt to build the first mass-market computer with a graphical interface. It's named after his daughter, though he'd later deny it. Lisa was supposed to be the future. And in many ways, it was. But, as with all things Jobs, the journey was anything but smooth. The Lisa team was like a band where everyone wanted to be the lead singer. Engineers, designers, and managers all had strong opinions, and Jobs, well, he had the strongest. His infamous reality distortion field was in full effect, pushing the team to achieve the impossible. Perfection was the only option. But perfection takes time, and time was something Apple didn't have much of. Meanwhile, Xerox was still scratching their heads, wondering why their tech hadn't taken off. They had the ingredients, but no recipe. Jobs, ever the visionary, knew exactly how to mix them. The Lisa might not have been the commercial hit Apple hoped for, but it laid the groundwork for something even bigger. So what happens when a genius with a temper, a team of brilliant but frustrated engineers, and a stolen glimpse of the future collide? Well, let's just say the story is far from over.